Right, back to this machine again today, and we have a new motor. This machine hasn't been running properly ever since I took the other motor apart and changed the bearings, which was not surprising because it was a sealed can motor. But I'll show you all that in a minute. Let's get it from its window. We're also going to get rid of all this blimmin' cardboard, and I've got a piece of wood to go in there. I was going to put insulation board in, couldn't get any. Well, not picking up from B&Q or the local DIY shop, so let's tear it down again. Good, whatever time of day you're watching this, I come bearing gifts of more poorly thought out videos. So as I just said a minute ago, I've got my diesel heater back down again. It's been running terribly. Ever since I did that, change the bearings in the motor, which didn't go perfectly, it hasn't run right. So we've got a new motor, and this is the kind of motor you want if you're going to be changing the bearings, because you're going to do these two bolts here, which go through to this plate, and then you can actually separate it all. Take it apart carefully, not to let the brushes come loose, and yeah, it works a lot better that way. In fact, we might actually take this one apart to show you how you change the bearings. So give me a second, we do that. Alright, I've got the correct tooling. It's T15, so Torx 15, these little screws. Put them out. Place them somewhere where they're going to roll on the floor. Probably there. Same again. Now, not having had this type of motor apart before, I don't quite know how it's going to work, but what I'm going to try and do is retain the brushes part of it at this end and pull the rest of it that way. There we go. So I've held the shaft and the collar here and allowed this all to come apart. So the reason why this motor is more serviceable is because you can unbolt it like we just did. As you see in there, I've got the brushes and the commutator, and as you pull this out, the brushes are ping back, which makes it a bit more of a faff, but the brushes are ping back like that. So they've now come into the way, so when you've got to put it back together, you're going to have to work those brushes out left and right with a little pick or a screwdriver, a tiny one, and just feel them out the way. Now, the bearing you'd want to change is this one in here and the one in the other end. Now this one will probably be quite easy because you can just push it. So give me a minute. This end's quite simple. You probably just get the screwdriver in there, just and push the bearing carefully, and there it is. And there's your bearing. Just popped out, sorry, out of focus. But yeah, and it has a little silicone damper thing to keep the noise down. But that'll be what makes your machines squeal. It's an all-out brand bearing. So that's the easy side. The other side might be slightly more difficult because the brush assembly's in the way. Let's see if I can get this back in here. Get it in nice and straight. There we are. Beautiful. Right where it was. This assembly. Now we've got the actual brush assemblies on here. Now I've got a feeling if we work it carefully, if we don't break our brand new motor. Yeah, exactly that. So you can get your screwdriver underneath, around the screw area, and you've just got to get it to lift off these little metal stakes. So, same again this side. If I could keep in shot, it'd be really handy. Get under there carefully. Carefully as possible, gently. Get under. You see what I'm doing? I'm just trying to work my way over to it. That's it. So just work your way around. Then the brush assembly can come off. See, we were just fighting it off those two little metal stakes there and there. And it's exactly the same thing. Rubber thing, bearing, push it out, push it on in. Get your brush assembly, line it back up with the stakes. So this is what the last video should have been like. It should have been straightforward, simple. Parts off, parts on. Place that down, just give it a push right next to where the stakes are so it goes right down. And that's it. And that's how you then reassemble the motor. I've got a small screwdriver. And I'm also going to use a small pick, a hook pick. And we need to get to the commutator assembly in. Like so. You see what I'm doing? Can we get a bit closer, or is it going to go out of focus? Now we're pretty good there. So I'm just going to heave one out of the way, let it get back in. It's going to come up to where the commutator is, one at a time. Hook the brush out the way. That one's not the one that's caught, it's this one. So as you do it, you might be able to just do them one by one. Nah, of course not. It's not going to make it that easy for us. Screwdriver in one side, hook in the other, push them apart, try and get it down a bit, get the screwdriver out, and there it is. You kind of got the idea. You've got to get them out of the way so that commutator can sit back where it belongs. Marvellous. Now, putting it, spike up a bit, put it back together, pinch your shaft tight. This is obviously a magnet, and it's going to try and suck the whole assembly in. So, bring her in, keep holding it tight, try and get that little the rubber piece back into where it lives when it goes up. So, is that as far as it ever went? Could have been. Doesn't seem to want to go in any further. I don't know, you probably saw it, I didn't. Never mind, we get there. Doesn't seem to matter which way around it all goes as long as the screws line up. That side's gone in all the way. Why is the other side not going in all the way? Does that actually fit in there? I don't think it does. Oh, it's got to fit in there surely. You see what I'm fighting with. Side's all the way in, this side's not. Does it want persuading? Am I going to break it? Both of these things are possible. Right, anyway, put it back together how it was and hope and pray. Maybe it'd draw together with the bolts. I don't know. Maybe it was like that. I don't know. Anyway, let's get the other end on. This one goes back on in nicely like that. Line it up, then you want to drop your bolts through. They should come through until you see them on the other side. Don't push them too far, you want to get them roughly in line. Can't see them. There we are. So that bolt's lined up. Get it started. And to the one. Clamped up, tighten them up, see if it draws itself back together. Don't think it was together any further than that. Can't be 100% sure. But there we go. Like a new one. No shaft play, so I'm assuming that's as far as it ever went. I'll look back at the video and realise maybe I've done something wrong. Anyway, back to what we were doing. Some noisy farm machinery going past. Plate off, box off, rubber gas, silicone gasket thing off, end cap off, top cover off. Rub the unit, go give her a wiggle and a rub, there she goes. Joys to be back in here again. Right, so if I remember rightly, we've got to get this off first. I haven't got a new one of these. If I remember, we got the screwdrivers in and something like that. So we have one of them and one of them. Line it up like that. Screwdrivers went in there somehow. That and push. That was it. Easy as that. You're just putting them in as close as you can there and lever it off. We've got the sensor ring thing. So remember, you just get a screwdriver in there and encourage it in various places. And again, one more, and she's basically off. Ah, yeah. Oh no. There we go. That's that piece off. And now we need to get the bolts off there, but it's easy to get the circuit board out of the way first. So undo all your connections. That's an Allen key. Get them out, we need them. Just about that size, which is a 4mm. It is. It's a lot more rehearsed today, this, being as we've already had this apart once before. That's when we caused most of the problems that I'm now having with it. We sorted out the squeak though. So yeah, there we are, we're in. It's probably a 4mm Allen key again to get all these undone. Crack them all off. Now the reason I think this thing's been, there's loads of iron filings on that. Knock it again. Iron filings stuck to your tools. Just hit it against a metal object. They're gone and the magnetism seems to dissipate. Solves the problem. James's top tip for the day. Don't like something, hit it. Apart from women, that's not allowed. You know what I mean? Don't be that guy. Get out of the way, wire. Right, she comes apart for the 4,000th time. Also, last time I had this apart, I damaged the gasket. It's a bit of a shame. There you go, quick tap, and you see, yeah, the gasket. It's all knackered round here. And last time we were in here, I broke the compressor wheel, which still rubs. But yeah, I broke that there. Bit of a shame. What we've also got to replace today is the compressor wheel. One moment. I thought this one was in the yard at the bin, but it was the wind's flipped. There's a wheelie bin that's flipped the lid open. Crikey. Quick look in here. Looks alright. So the basic problem with this when it was running is it's running and it was going and you could hear it. When it was at a higher rate it was really struggling to maintain combustion. And I think it's down to the fact that this compressor wheel is not working as well as it used to, or the motor's not running as fast. You can see how quickly it stops up. It's got quite a bit of a... It's not right. I didn't get it right. I made a mess of it. Now, how did I say I got this off last time? It wasn't very nice the way I did it. I'm going to use a flathead and another one. The little one over here. It doesn't matter if I damage this wheel this time, but you might not want to damage your wheel. And just pry, same way we did the last one, just push it off until you get to the last bit where it gets a bit more finicky. Maybe use a bigger screwdriver. There you go. So there she is. There's the assembly. We're going to take these bolts out. They're smaller. Lots of bits of filings everywhere. We're on 3mm for these ones. So yeah, see this gasket's toast. So we'll sort that today. I hope we will, because I've got a bag with some gaskets in. You buy all the parts I've got from AliExpress. Just search for a 5kW diesel heater. The 5 or 8 is exactly the same thing. Right, now here's where things are different. So let me just set this up. So here's the two motors side by side, and it should give you an idea of what the difference is. This one's a steel can motor, whereas this one's actually a rebuildable motor. They are different lengths. Oh. Is it going to work? We'll find out. But either way, you can rebuild that one. If you look at what we did to the end of it, I had to prise all these bits open to get it open. Never quite got anything sat straight afterwards, and ended up using a chisel to try and bend the ends over again afterwards. It wasn't good. One second. So, does this fit in here? Let's widen you up a bit. It fits perfectly. And the bolts line up. That's good news so far. But being that most of them use the same kind of setup, I'd hope they fit. And hopefully the bolts are the same thread and everything. Not some nasty steel can motor thread. There we are. Do well. Tighten them up. Not mega tight, they're only little tiny screws. Already done that one. Lovely. And the other motor, as is here, we can probably, with enough force, get it open and see what actually happens inside. Let's just encourage it. Acting like this is never going to be needed again. There we are. So, previous motor, you had to, there's no way, there's no bolts or anything to hold it in, and it really is it's not a serviceable design. Basically the same insides, but man, you probably won't be able to see it, but there's some seriously good wear on that commutator now. Oh well, these are the new bearings I put in, still on there, still good. Where are you? Still very good. But they were that cheap that I wouldn't bother using them again. We've tried, once the new bearings and the new motor wear out, we'll do it then. So this is my new wheel. Here's my old wheel. And this is the one that I broke here, prying it out. If you're going to pry it out, don't put too much force right in one area. Just be bloody careful, because that ruined the wheel. It's not the fact that they're expensive to replace, it's the fact that they take ages to arrive. But while we got this apart, let's look at the rest of this packaging that I got. And we have not one, not two, not three, but 5 gaskets. Really, come on James. And that looks to be perfect. So that'll do well. And obviously this has all got to seal up properly for it to work. So I wonder how easily the rest of the gasket's going to come off. I'll tell you what, we'll get a knife. Now you could use a Stanley knife, which has only got a short blade, or you can use a snap knife with long blade. That'll make a difference, whatever you've got. Helps if your knife's sharp. Actually, you can't use a long blade because there's a lip there, so you've actually got to get right in. Wow, these gaskets, what are they? Could they glue them on? That's really well stuck on there, that is. And that comes off easy for a portion. Just stuck on the corners. Do you reckon I should try a new blade? I don't know how much new blade, I just snapped it off a bit. Kind of the whole idea of a snap knife, isn't it? Right, so it's about 15 minutes later. I've removed all of the gasket material, nice and clean, same on this face. Ready to put a new one on. If you don't destroy your gasket, you won't have to do this, but I did. Whether that's the reason that it didn't run properly ever again, possibly. Most likely it wasn't providing enough air pressure into the burn chamber to make it burn properly. Maybe the motor was fine, who knows. Either way, we've now got to push this new, is this the new one? Yeah, that's the new compressor wheel onto the actual motor. Now what I want to do is be careful, because we don't want to push against the internals. Where are we? We don't want to push against the internals of the motor, we want to push against the shaft. So you need to get yourself set up in such a way that that's possible. Now, mainly you could sit it on the bench and be very careful to bring it down. But then you can get it too close, and then you've got a big problem because it's then too close to the body. So what I'm going to think of is I've got to do this just carefully, I think. It's the only way. So I'm going to get a very soft hammer, like this. Place that down onto the rubber bench. I'm just going to tap it on. See what I'm up to, yes. Now we don't want to go too far here. There's got to be a gap, but it's got to be almost touching, so that's not good enough yet. So we're going to have to keep going. wondering if I can do this in the vise. I can't because my vise isn't big enough, so we're going to have to continue this way. Yeah, we're getting closer, but it's got to be closer than that. Literally, this gap's got to be next to nothing here. So, we keep going. Next problem we face is that I think, yeah, the shaft is now proud of where I'm hitting, so I'm going to have to put something on it to knock it on a bit further. That'll do, we'll use a socket. Come down to its height. That one there, and gently getting close now. I want to go further. I'm just going to go a little bit further. No, a little bit more. That's probably too far. It's too far. I don't know that was going to happen. So now I've got this problem. I've got it too close. Here, I'm going to try and pull it back away. Just a small amount. Again there. Quite gentle leverage again. Nearly there. Just touching a little bit. Just there. There we are. So we've worked it and worked it. So the gap is nearly non-existent, but it's not touching. And that's how it's got to be. Otherwise it doesn't work properly. Perfect. So now the next procedure is we've got to get that back into, well actually we've got to get the blower assembly back on, because we've got to be able to support that while we push the blower assembly back on. So you mustn't forget we've got to get this piece back on first. I've got to try and remember which way round it went, because it's actually got a cut out. Yeah, it's got a cut out for the wires, so that needs to go on. Just pushes onto there, and it would appear that yeah, there is a cut out in the plastic there. You can just about see it in the actual plastic itself where the wires come out, so you can't get that too wrong. Now this bit's got to go back on, but we need to support that on the end of the shaft, and the end of the shaft is still just sitting proud of here, so we need something flat to go in there for it to sit on. So I'm going to have a look around for something now and see what we can work out. What I found is a offcut of a rod end. I'm going to do the same procedure again, but with the fan. So it's got to sit on there, and I can hear it's definitely metal on metal. It is. Yeah. We can tweak it all again after, but I'll try and push this down now by hand. Exactly sure how far on that's got to go, but we've got a rotating assembly again. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a tap with the soft hammer. Again. That's on quite a bit further this time, and we're still not hitting anywhere. So, trial fit. I'll put it back together, then I'll show you how it looks. Right, so we're back together again, and as you can tell, we aren't on far enough yet. We've got quite a way to go. So, more. Right, so I think I've got the position about right. You need to get it on pretty far, really, and not so far that it scrapes on this the plastic ring at the back here, this piece. This does move a bit, it's got to be right. So I've got my gasket laid in, I'm using the bolts to help line it up. Make sure she sits right. Tighten up the corners gently. That wasn't even started. Right, it's taken a lot of messing about and fiddling, getting the dimensions right, but there's a reason you can't make a real guide video on how to do these, is because it's a lot of just tinkering with it to get the gaskets to sit exactly where they're supposed to sit and things like that. It's just, yeah, becomes a bit of a faff. But it's going back together. We have nothing rubbing. Get the blur wheel in right. Hopefully the clearances are all good. Put the circuit board on, plug it all in. Then we're going to stick it back in the window. See how that works. Where that's supposed to be lower than that, not supposed to clip into there, but it doesn't appear to want to. Not exactly sure why. That's why, because it's not sat all the way home. Bloody thing. This bit's got to come right back right to there, apparently. Maybe because it was designed for a different motor. There we are, so that's up. And nothing rubs. Plug everything back in. 4-pin jobby here. Fan over it. The motor, I should say, sort of fanish type thing. That one, 3-pin, goes actually onto a 2-pin header. Reasons unknown, because that's the way they made it. There she is, ready to go back in the casing. And then you got everything stuffed back in. There. Shouldn't rub, which at the moment it's not. So, sure, once I get it all mounted back up, something's going to rub, and then I'll have to get angry at it and faff with it a bit more. But lid back on. That fits perfectly, as you can tell. It doesn't fit perfectly, it's crap. Now it all rubs, yay! Really? What's changed? It's like it's finally decided to sit where it's supposed to sit. So the blower assembly has got to go on further. Take it all apart again, or risk knocking the shaft through. No, take it all apart. I'm saying how much I enjoy taking these things apart, constantly over and over again until I get it right. Right, I've got to have all this apart again, motor off, board off, tap that through even further. I think it's got to go as far as it possibly can before it hits, yeah. It's too far away from the hall sensor as well. So what you got in here, this point, is the hall sensor on the circuit board there sticking up, and the little magnets on the back. You can see the little silver things going past it. Yeah, that's got to be on a lot further yet. Joys. Take it apart again. Right, so the way I think this works is once you've pulled this plastic ring back as far as it goes, till it doesn't want to go anymore, which is where it is now, blur assembly has basically got to be right up to it, nearly, very close, because when the circuit board's attached, there, the hall sensor's in line with this, so the magnet's got to go past the hall sensor there, so that is bang on in line. So we've got a way to go yet. Well, I never got it working right last time, but never mind. Send her on. Right, it's a lot closer than it was now. Would it be enough? I don't really want to knock it miles on because now the shaft's protruding this end. So, put it back together, try again. No sounds. They're there. She's ready to go again. What a job. I don't know. It's not an easy one to tackle. There's a lot of faffing about. And then you've got to get this plate back on. Oh no, don't ever forget, you need a silicone thing. Like so. Plate back on. Might be actually mounted to your vehicle slash whatever. In my case it's was mounted to a piece of cardboard, which nobody would probably say is a good idea, but that all changes today. It's going to mount to a piece of wood. Not very thick wood, but it's wood, because the cardboard is getting destroyed by the wind. So that's the next part of this project, is to cut a piece of wood and make it fit this. So I've got some out for this, yeah I have. Lazy gun. Perfect. Round 2. See if this is any better. Hopefully it works better now. Don't know. Soon find out. Right, back to the indoors. Right, so you'll be pleased to know the cardboard is gone. It's now on a nice board. Let's fire it up. It's quiet. But what we've got to do is, because it's now lost a bit of fuel up the lines, it's probably going to take a bit longer to get going. So far, relatively quiet. I'll bring you back in when it actually ignites. Right, so I think fuel has just got to the burner. Can you hear a slight rattling? Please don't rattle. I can hear it rattling already. See a bit of warmth in the wiring over there already. 7 degrees. Yeah, it's a rattling noise. The fan's definitely quieter. Well, looks like I'll be taking it back apart at some point, but it's producing heat. So what that is, that's the internal blower wheel hitting against the gasket or something. I don't know, it might wear in. Right, we'll let it run for a minute and see what it looks like in about 5 minutes once it's warmed up. Right, it's just been running a couple of minutes. We've got up to some temperature, what, 52 so far at the wall. It's not a perfect surface because it's not black and it's not radiating the heat perfectly, and as you can hear, we have a noise. I'm going to leave it like that and let it run and just see if it sorts itself out. I hope so. So I don't want to take it apart again. But never mind, there we are for now. I'll see you in the next one. I mean, some of you are probably going to laugh at this setup. What are we at? 15 minutes in. The noise has disappeared. She's back up to like 83 degrees on the outlet, 84. Heat runs up the pipe and out into the living room up here, and it works bloody well. So you might think, why on earth would you want this inside your house? I'll tell you why. It's because I don't have what's his name, central heating. I have these electric heaters, and running a diesel heater built into the window, which is actually quite nicely built into the window now for a change, is by far the cheapest way to heat this house, and it works very well. So yeah, if you've got like a small 1-bedroom flat and you're out the way enough to have a window that points into nowhere, then yeah, why not try it? Result. Thanks for watching again.